Silence creates curiosity, and curiosity creates emotion. When you stop speaking, when you stop reaching out, something shifts in her mind. The energy that once flowed constantly from you suddenly disappears, and that absence becomes louder than any words you could have said. In the beginning, she might feel confident, even relieved, thinking she has the upper hand. But over time, that confidence starts to fade because silence leaves space, and space forces her to think. She begins to replay memories, moments, and emotions that once seemed ordinary but now feel distant. That's when curiosity takes root. She starts wondering what changed, what you're thinking, and most importantly, why you're no longer chasing her. You see, silence is not about punishment, it's about presence. When you pull your attention back, you're shifting the balance. You're showing that your world doesn't revolve around her anymore. That kind of peace and self control is rare. And people always notice what's rare. The absence of your energy makes her question her own. She starts asking herself if she did something wrong, if she pushed too hard, or if she underestimated your worth. That uncertainty slowly begins to crumble the emotional walls she built to feel and control. Curiosity is a powerful emotional trigger because it pulls someone inward. It makes them reflect on what they once had and now don't. Your silence gives her that mirror. It's not what you say that makes her miss you. It's what you stop saying. When you're silent, your image stays in her mind without interference. She remembers your tone, your presence, the way you made her feel, and she starts realizing those things aren't so easily replaced. Every time she expects you to react and you don't, every time she checks her phone and sees nothing, your silence grows louder in her heart. But this only works when your silence is rooted in peace, not pride. If you're quiet just to manipulate her emotions, she'll feel that energy and resist it. Real silence comes from acceptance. You've stopped trying to prove your value, and that detachment is what makes you magnetic because people feel the difference between indifference and inner peace. When your silence carries peace, it becomes attractive. It sends a silent message that says, I'm okay with or without you. And that message is the most powerful statement you can ever make. The longer you stay grounded, the more her curiosity grows. It's not about ignoring her, it's about shifting focus to yourself. When you choose silence over chaos, clarity over control, and peace over pursuit, she starts to feel something she can't explain, a pull toward the calm energy you now embody. And that's when she begins to realize she's the one who's starting to crumble, not because you left, but because your silence reminded her of your worth. Emotional detachment is one of the hardest, yet most powerful things you can ever master. It doesn't mean you stop caring or that your heart turns cold. It means you stop depending on someone else for your peace. When you reach that place where your emotions are steady, regardless of what she says or does, you step into real strength. Silence isn't just about not talking, it's about controlling the storm inside you. The moment you choose not to react, not to chase, not to argue, you're sending a powerful message. I'm in control of myself. That energy is rare and people always feel it. When you stay silent from a place of emotional detachment, you're no longer playing her game. You're not feeding her ego or trying to win her attention back. You're operating from a level of self respect that says, if it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. That shift in energy changes everything. She may have expected you to react, to plead, to explain yourself, but instead she gets nothing but calmness. That calmness makes her uneasy because it shows her she no longer has control over your emotions. And the truth is, the more calm you become, the more she begins to question herself. Detachment isn't about running away from emotion. It's about mastering it. It's standing tall in the middle of emotional chaos and choosing stillness. When you can do that, you reclaim your power. You stop chasing reassurance and start giving yourself validation. You stop asking, why isn't she responding? And start saying, I'm okay regardless. That's the kind of energy that draws people back in, not out of guilt, but out of genuine attraction. Because peace is magnetic. People crave the stability they can't find within themselves. And when you embody that energy, they want to be around it. The power of detachment is also in how it refocuses your attention. Instead of overanalyzing what she's thinking, you start building yourself. You start working out, improving your mindset, chasing your goals, and growing your purpose. That energy shift doesn't go unnoticed. She feels it. Even from a distance, your silence mixed with focus creates an energy that's both mysterious and confident. It says you're no longer controlled by emotion. You've evolved beyond reaction. That's when attraction quietly begins to return. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop loving her. It means you start loving yourself more. It means you trust that if she's meant to be in your life, she will be, but you won't lose yourself waiting. You've accepted that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom, because a man who can stay calm when everything around him feels uncertain becomes unshakable. And when your silence carries that kind of control, it doesn't push her away, it makes her realize what she's losing. Space has a way of revealing truth that words never can. When you pull back and create distance, it forces both people to see the situation for what it really is. Silence is like holding up a mirror. It reflects reality clearly. When you're no longer around, when your energy is gone, when your attention isn't feeding her anymore, that's when she starts to feel the shift. At first, she might convince herself she's fine. She might stay busy, distracted, or even act like she doesn't notice your absence. But as time goes on, that illusion begins to fade. She starts to feel the void where your presence used to be, and that emptiness slowly begins to speak louder than your words ever did. Every relationship is built on energy. The way you show up, the effort you give, the emotions you share, those things become part of someone's daily life. When you remove yourself from that pattern, their comfort zone breaks. It's in that quiet space that realization begins. She starts to replay moments in her head, moments she took for granted, conversations she brushed off, kindness she didn't fully appreciate. And now, with you silent, those moments echo differently. What once felt a predictable now feels distant, and that distance creates curiosity. She starts asking herself why things feel off, why her peace isn't the same, and why your absence feels heavier than she expected. That's the power of space. It doesn't beg, it doesn't argue, it doesn't explain. It simply allows truth to surface naturally. If her feelings were genuine, silence amplifies them. She begins to understand your value not through your presence, but through your absence. But if her connection was shallow, if it was built on convenience rather than care, silence exposes that too. And while that truth may sting, it's the kind of pain that sets you free. Because the silence not only reveals her heart, it also reveals yours. Space also gives you clarity. In the time apart, you start to see patterns you ignored before. You begin to realize where you overextended yourself, where you compromised your peace just to keep things going. You stop trying to read her emotions and start understanding your own. That awareness strengthens you. It teaches you patience and self-control. You realize that you don't need to force anyone to stay, because what's meant for you will never leave due to silence. It will be drawn back by connection. Distance isn't punishment, it's perspective. It gives both of you a chance to see things clearly without emotion clouding judgment. And that's the beauty of silence. It's not just about making her miss you, it's about allowing both of you to see the truth. Because when space enters the picture, only something real survives it. And when she starts to feel that truth, that's when she begins to crumble, not because of your silence, but because she finally understands what your presence truly meant. When you finally pull back and embrace silence, something interesting happens. You stop chasing her, and she starts chasing the feeling you used to give. The truth is, people don't miss you right away. They miss how you made them feel. They miss the energy you brought into their life, the attention that once made them feel special, the comfort of knowing you were always there. When that energy disappears, when your silence becomes consistent and grounded, it creates a void that starts to whisper louder with time. At first, she might distract herself, talk to others, post more, stay busy. But deep down, none of it feels the same. That quiet gap where your presence used to be begins to tug at her thoughts more and more each day. This is the stage where silence transforms from absence into attraction. Because now she's not seeing you as the person who used to chase. She's seeing you as someone who values himself enough to walk away. That confidence is rare. It's magnetic. It's the kind of strength that silently says, I don't need you to complete me. And ironically, that's what makes her start craving your presence again. The moment she feels that your world didn't collapse without her, her perception begins to shift. She starts wondering what changed, what made you so calm, what gave you that quiet power. That curiosity becomes the seed of missing you. But here's the beauty. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about realignment. When you stop chasing, you stop interrupting the natural flow of attraction. You give her space to miss you, but more importantly, you give yourself space to heal, to rebuild, and to rise above the emotional dependence that once held you down. That's when silence starts working for you. It becomes your message without words. Every day you stay silent, you're saying, I've learned my worth. And that's the kind of message that gets heard louder than any argument, any text, or any long explanation ever could. You see, when a woman realizes that your attention is no longer guaranteed, she begins to value it differently. What once felt endless now feels precious. What once felt normal now feels rare. She starts looking back, remembering your presence, comparing the energy you gave to what she's experiencing now. That's when missing you isn't just emotional. It becomes psychological. Because silence triggers reflection, and reflection leads to realization. In the end, silence turns into gravity. The longer you hold it, the stronger it pulls. But this only works when your silence is rooted in peace, not punishment. When you're genuinely focused on yourself, When your energy shifts from needing her to improving you, that's when the dynamic changes completely. You're no longer chasing what's uncertain. You're becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel complete. And that's exactly when she starts to crumble, realizing the man she once took for granted is now the one she can't stop thinking about. Growth is one of the most powerful results of silence. When you step back, when you stop explaining yourself, chasing validation, or trying to fix everything, you finally have the space to grow into the man you were meant to be. Silence gives you perspective. It separates what truly matters from what doesn't. It makes you look at yourself not as someone who lost something, but as someone who's finally finding himself again. That shift is everything, because in that quiet space, you realize that you don't need her to see your worth. You need to see it yourself first. When you stop pouring all your energy into trying to make someone understand you, you start redirecting that energy into building yourself. You start going to the gym, not to impress her, but to push your limits. You start learning new things, chasing goals, improving your confidence, not because you want her back, but because you want yourself back. That's where real transformation begins. The silence that once felt heavy slowly becomes empowering. It no longer feels like punishment. It feels like freedom. You begin to see how much of yourself you gave away just to keep someone close, and you promise yourself never to do it again. This stage of growth also brings clarity. You begin to understand that love should never come at the cost of your self-respect. You stop confusing silence with weakness and start using it as your strength. Every time you choose not to react, not to reach out, not to break your peace for temporary comfort, you grow. You're teaching yourself discipline, the kind of discipline that keeps your emotions under control no matter how strong the urge to reach out becomes. And that's rare. That's power. And here's what's fascinating. Your growth doesn't go unnoticed. The world, and even she, begins to sense it. Your silence mixed with self-improvement becomes your loudest message. She starts to notice the difference, even if she doesn't say it. Maybe she sees your focus, your calmness, your confidence returning. Maybe she feels the shift in energy when your presence no longer feels desperate, but strong. That's when realization starts to hit her. She sees the man she once knew turning into someone completely different, someone grounded, self-assured, and peaceful. But more importantly, you start to see that you never really needed her validation in the first place. You just needed time away from the noise to remember who you are. The pain that once felt unbearable becomes fuel. The silence that once felt empty becomes your teacher. You start to understand that growth doesn't happen when everything is comfortable. It happens when you're silent enough to listen to yourself again. And that's when everything changes. Because by the time she starts to realize your value, you've already built a version of yourself that doesn't chase anymore, you attract. And in that quiet transformation, you find the peace that no relationship could ever give you. In the end, silence isn't about proving a point, it's about protecting your peace. When you reach that stage where you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, defend your worth, or fight for attention, you've reached emotional maturity. Silence becomes your boundary. It says, I won't argue for my value anymore. Either you see it or you lose it. That kind of peace is powerful because it comes from acceptance. You've accepted that not everything deserves your reaction. Not every loss is truly a loss, and not everyone who walks away deserves a chase. That's when silence stops feeling like distance. It starts feeling like control. You see, the strongest people aren't the ones who always speak. They're the ones who know when not to. There's wisdom in restraint. When you stay silent after chaos, it shows composure. When you choose not to text back in frustration, it shows discipline. And when you decide not to beg for clarity from someone who already knows what they're doing, it shows self-respect. That's the peace silence brings. It teaches you how to choose yourself even when your emotions beg you not to. You start to realize that silence isn't about ignoring someone. It's about prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being. The more peace you find in silence, the more attractive you become. Because you're trying to make anyone miss you, but because calmness is rare in a world full of noise. Your silence becomes mysterious, powerful, and magnetic. It makes people wonder what changed, what gave you that unshakable confidence. But you know the truth. It's not confidence that grew overnight. It's peace that was earned through pain. You stopped fighting battles that didn't deserve your energy. You stopped explaining your worth to people who couldn't see it. And somewhere in that process, you discovered the version of yourself you were always meant to be. That's the real transformation silence gives you. It's not about making her crumble. It's about finally standing strong. Because once you've tasted peace, you stop settling for anything that disturbs it. You stop trying to prove love, and instead, you start embodying strength. You learn that silence doesn't mean weakness. It means you've outgrown the need to be understood by everyone. And the truth is, when she sees that peace in you, when she feels that calm confidence, it shakes her more than any words ever could. Because deep down, she knows she no longer has the power to control your emotions. And that's when she starts to crumble. So when you choose silence, understand that you're not losing anything. You're gaining everything that truly matters. Clarity, control, and calm. Silence becomes your teacher, your armor, and your peace. And in that stillness, you don't just heal, you evolve. Because the man who learns to be silent doesn't become invisible, he becomes unstoppable.